Kaspar, today we're going to talk about a Japanese bank that is going to bring a company to the stock market. And that company is
That will be the biggest IPO of 2023
3.
and probably also 2022 and maybe even 2021.
Which company are we talking about?
Arm Holdings Limited. It's
Arm Holdings.
a UK company and it's owned by
SoftBank.
a Japanese company. That's why you are going to talk about the Japanese market a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's quite interesting. They announced on this Monday, the 21st of August, that there will be an IPO probably somewhere in September. In the beginning of September, they start with the roadshow, and normally, not very soon after that, there will be an IPO. And the IPO will be on the Nasdaq, so they don't choose for their home market, the UK market.
No.
It's also quite logical. It's a large company, so it's logical that they choose the Nasdaq and not the UK market. But of course, you can understand that people in the UK are not really happy with this, and it's also because the owner is Japanese.
Yeah.
It does make sense. They bought the company in 2016, just after the Brexit outcome, and in that time, May was. Maybe you remember that. Yes, she wanted to show the market that UK was still open for trading, so they could easily buy it for 32. If you calculate back, $32 billion. And also after Brexit, the pound sterling was low, so they had a really good deal.
They had a good deal.
And this year, in the beginning of this month, they bought back a stake of 26%. And that was valued, with that purchase, it was valued for $64 billion. So if they bring it on the market and they get 64, they double the money within 7 years. Probably it is estimated that it will be higher, maybe higher than 74, because they will probably say, okay, we had a good deal for 64 valuation, but it must be more. But so it will be around that. It's 2,800 people working. And what is quite interesting is that they make chips, and that's why it's interesting, because I think it's also why they choose to go to the market now, because everything about chips is hot. And if the prospectus is already out, you can look it up. In the prospectus, they mention, I think it was 44 times the word AI. So they use it everywhere where they can. 99% of all the phones in the world has chips from them. So Arm Holding, remember Arm Holding Limited. And also they also make chips for other for PCs and for other computer things. So it's quite an interesting company.
And a good time, I think, to bring it out, to sell it.
I think it's a really good time, yeah. If you look at the prospectus, then you see that, and that's quite strange, that they had really bad first and second quarter. The sales dropped 1% in the first quarter and 2% in the second quarter. That's because their main income is still coming from the chips that they deliver to the phone companies. And there were less phones sold in the first half year of 2023. Apple did well, they sold more, so the market was not good. Okay, so you have to take that into consideration. Their outlook in the prospectus is really positive. They had revenues of 200 billion at the end of 2023, and they expect it will grow to around 250 billion in end of 2025. So that's in 2 years. Where do they think they can get that growth from? And that's more the Internet of Things. We discussed it a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months ago, even, that now we have on average in this world with 8 billion people, 8, I think, machines connected to the internet, and that will be in a couple of years, it will be 40. Yeah. That's the Internet of Things. So the washing machines, you can program
from your phone,
everything, And they already have, they are already in 65% of those kind of things, in drones and in cameras. So that market will increase a lot. If they maintain a market share, or even they lose market share, then they have a really good outlook. And they invested a lot in that industry, in that kind of chips for that industry. So that's where they said, okay, our revenues were not that high in the last time. So I think it's really interesting from that perspective. 3 main risks that they will have. 25% of their income is coming from Chinese companies. And with the tensions between the US, China, Russia, yeah, that's a risk. 57% of their income is coming from their 5 biggest customers. And they have customers like Amazon, Google, Nvidia, AMD, Apple, etc., etc. And the third one is that their competitors like semiconductors and NXP, they are working on similar products with open source, and they even said in the prospectus, if our clients will move to those open source solutions, then we will have a big problem.
They will lose some share, right?
The market believes in it, and with the market, I'm talking about the financial market, because 28 banks will support this IPO, and that is Barclays, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan,
all the bigger ones.
Almost all the big ones. Yeah. So on the other hand, because I think in the next weeks you will hear a lot about this company. It will be also depending on the market and on depending on the news.
Yeah,
it's really interesting to follow, and I think it's really difficult to find objective information, because 28 banks. So if you read the report from one of those 28 banks, they will be really positive. The other ones, what reason they are not in that consortium, will not be positive.
No.
And also big companies that have the main bank is Goldman Sachs, they also will be a little bit colored, I think. Interesting to follow, because they are in the hot chip industry, the AI industry. RAM Holdings Limited will be
ARM.
ARM. What did I say?
RAM.
ARM Holdings Limited will be the biggest IPO probably of this year. So interesting for investors.
If you think what everybody's talking about, the bubble in AI, and it's all going up it's been going up too much, and all that sort of stuff. Well, yesterday evening we had Nvidia coming out with their figures, and that I think was like the confirmation that the majority of people were looking for, and they confirmed they beat all the estimates. And we know how important that is. And last week in the Netherlands, we saw at the end the Dutch company, they did not beat the estimates. They were actually a little bit below that. But the company, the share price dropped with almost 50%. Nvidia was better. The price after market went up 8%. Now at this moment it's trading about 3.85. So
not a lot.
No, they fell down again. But the market in general is going down a bit. That they're pricing in something what's going to happen.
But the profit per share was 11 billion. Estimated it was 13.
The profit per share for the quarter was $2.70, and the estimation was $2.07.
Yeah, per share. Yeah.
But so if they postpone that to like extrapolate that to the whole year, then you come out about $11.50, $12 per share, and the estimation is about 10, I think. No?
10 it was, yeah.
The turnover in a year's time, so that's also important. So the revenue was up 102%, from 6.7 billion last year to 13.5. So it's not like they're not delivering here. They are really doing what they are saying.
And they already said, the CEO said last time, okay, then I think it was revenues. They never had higher revenues than 8.
Yeah.
And then I said it will be probably 11, and it will be 2, and it was 13. So it's even better than than the outlook was.
And I think the thing what the people liked the most was, I mean, some people say, we can't give clear guidance for the next quarter. Well, the CFO here said we expect to have 16 billion in the third quarter versus 12.6 expected. So whoa, people like that, because they do better. And also, where is the growth coming from? Where is this revenue coming from? It's from their HGX systems, which is the larger driver for the second quarter, but they also expect it to be the larger driver of the revenues for the third quarter. What is it? It's like a supercomputer that enables, I'm reading it up here, enables an order of magnitude leap for large-scale data centers. So basically what they do is, it's you have to bear in mind that this is what we need, data centers to get all this Internet of Things, to get it going, and they are producing that. So
and if it's not trading at around $500.
$500.
Expected this year $12 profit per share, then it's not that expensive.
Well, it depends what is expensive for you, but it's not really. I mean, no. If the growth maintains at these levels and they keep delivering, then the sky is the limit. The only thing that I'm a little bit scared of, but maybe that's just because I was so involved last week with ATN, and a lot of people Dutch in the Netherlands are very, and they were also sort of like a growth company, and then all of a sudden slightly less. And I got like it's like a wake up call, right? If you're slightly less, then wham, you get banged into the face. You talked about SoftBank. SoftBank is a Japanese bank. They had some sort of some issues in the past, some scandals, I think even. But Japan on itself, there's a lot of articles going around, and I also was on one of the
They with WeWork, they lost a lot on WeWork.
exactly, yeah. With a good analyst from Goldman Sachs, he was at Bloomberg giving an interview about the Japanese market, and they're getting out of like the winter sleep. Japanese stocks are getting more and more interesting again based on valuations. Of course, we have one tricky part here, which is the Japanese yen. I remember that in the past, Japanese yen was considered as like a safe haven investment. Well, they have not delivered anyway because the Japanese yen has devaluated about 30% against the dollar and something similar to the euro. $1 was at the beginning of 2023 around 118 Japanese yen. It's now 146, so you can imagine it's gone really weak.
And what you also think, what you will see, that a lot of foreign investors from Europe, especially the US, they take money out of China, but they have allocated some money in that region, so they maybe move from investment in China to investment in Japan.
In Japan, yeah, for two reasons: because of the weak currency, because you can buy pretty cheap Japanese yen at the moment, and also because the Japanese investors or the Japanese companies are really trying to take care of their investors, and it's something else. Sometimes when people
like we do.
We are, yes, but we don't have a listing on the stock market.
No, but we take care of our investors.
Yes, that's absolutely true. We try at least to do our best, and I think a lot of people that know us know that's the truth, of course. But the last 12 months, they gave about 3.5% of all the value of the Japanese stocks back to the shareholders in dividend or by buying back shares. So that's a good thing, you know. Japanese stocks, the Japanese market itself is pretty prominent in the MSCI world as well. It's about 6% of the value. Valuations are positive as well. If we look at the ratios, so the enterprise value, which is many times looked at when somebody wants to take over, what's the company really worth? It's 60% more positive, more lucrative to say so than US stocks if we take all the market itself. So there's a lot of things to say for. If you do decide to buy Japanese stocks, you can do that through us, but we always recommend you to maybe also take a position dollar yen long next to it, so you're protected if the currency might even get weaker, you know, because there's a big government debt there. There's a lot of issues, and they keep the interest rates low. So that is the main thing. Japanese yen is not the strongest currency, and we don't know when it will turn. And it depends all on monetary policies, which it's difficult to follow, I think.
Yeah, and you can follow that if you look at Jackson Hole and to the BRICS meeting in South Africa.
Discussions are going on at the moment.
Yeah.
And interesting to follow those. I mean, I think the most important thing for tomorrow is the tone of Powell. What is he going to say? Is it going to be? Is he going to say something more about more hikes? Is he going to? I don't think so. I mean, I've looked at a couple of them, and each time I came home from they say in the Netherlands a cold fair. There's like.
We're disappointed.
Because no real boop boop boop.
No, and then everybody started looking at the commas, and after the comma.
Remember that when we had Draghi, it was always like the bazooka Draghi. You know, he yelled poof, and then the market reacted a lot. But with Powell, each time very dovish, and I think a lot of people are waiting, hoping that he may say something about when he stops the hikes or when he even start cutting again. We'll see. We can't say anything logical about it. Give us your time.
Thank you for watching.